Hi friends, welcome to our channel. Let's have a look at problem 3707, Equal Score Substrings. This is an easy problem, partially due to the problem size and the problem statement. So actually, after this problem, you can look at this extension, which slightly increases the difficulty level of the problem. So here, basically, we are given a string S consisting of lowercase English letters. So the score of a string is the sum of the positions of its characters in the alphabet. For example, A with score 1 and Z with score 26, right? So for the score of a string, you just sum up the characters' scores. So we want to determine whether there exists an index I such that the string can be split into two non-empty strings. So these two strings are specified. So one is ending at index I from the very beginning. Then the remaining will be the second one, right? So this actually makes the problem rather easy, right? So here the extension is that if there is a substring with score equal to half of the total string without specifying the beginning or end, right? So here the return is a boolean, right? So I'm not going to go through the two examples because it's rather straightforward. So let's look at the constraints. So here the lower bound 2 means that consistency, right? So the upper bound gives the problem size. So actually even it's have a longer length, so our solution will still linear time complexity, right? So S consists of lowercase English letters. With that said, let's look at the solution. First, so we want to make a map to get the scores of the letters. So you can do it when you write the logic, or you can do it at the very beginning. To isolate the logic, let me do it first. So here, let's also get the lowercase English letters from A to Z. I don't want to test it, type it, so we can do this. From string, import ASCII lowercase. Right. So you can see also ASCII uppercase, right? So this is actually the string from A to Z. So we can define a map. So basically get a score character and their score. So for I and the character in enumerate, so the ASCII lowercase, right? So but our start should be 1, right? If you start from 0, you can write actually I plus 1. So this is the same, but here to make it just like this, and this here is the same as this two variable name, so I'm going to start from 1. So this way you can print out this D. So what you can see is this: A has a score 1 and Z has a score 26, right? So with that said, now let's look at the problem logic. So first I want to make an edge case check. So the thing is that the total will be the summation of the score, that's D character for character in S, right? So in order to make this possible, we need this total to be an even number, right? Because the two scores are the same for the two strings, right? So let's write here, if total modulo 2 is not 0, right? So let's write it specifically. So you can write it like this, but I would prefer to write like this. If it's not 0, it means it's odd, so we just need to return false. So now let's look at the generic case. So for the generic case, so what we want to find is total over 2, right? So we want to find an index, so which actually has 1/2 of the total score. So basically we can use a running variable. Let's say current, the summation is 0, right? And then for I in range, say this S. So then the current increments by the score of the current character, that's SI, the score will be D, right? So then if I check if current equals target, right? So then I just need to return true. So here I don't need to care about if this I will be n-1, because if this condition holds, this I is impossible to be n minus 1, right? Because this is the half of the total, right? So then afterwards, if nothing returned yet after the for loop, we are going to return false. Right. So let's do a quick check for this. Yeah, it passes the 2 test cases. So now let's look at the generic case. Yeah, it passes all the cases. So here, as I mentioned, the overall structure of the code consists 3 parts. First, we make a lookup table, right? So this is not necessary, but for teaching purpose, so we make it explicit. And then we do an edge case check, right? So if the total sum is not an even number, so we need to return false. And then we are going to find if there's an index which is actually greater than 0 and greater than or equal to 0, less than n minus 1, such that the corresponding beginning substring has a score that is a half. Then we are going to return true, otherwise false. So this is the coding part. And for the extension, so you can do this extension. Is there a substring with score equal to half of the total string score, right? So if I say if there is a subsequent string, right? A subsequent, not, it means not consecutive with score to half of the total. It actually is a problem of given the total sum. If you want to find some subset which has half of the total sum, that will change the problem dramatically. But this extension is a very natural one for you to practice. So with that said, I guess that's it for the current video. Thank you for watching.